bunch of this Epstein's.
Ash Patel is chiming in. We've got information on Thomas Crooks. There's potentially an accomplice. A lot of stuff is coming out. We'll go through all this. Before we do, my friends, I want y'all to go to timcastpremium.com. Check out Rumble Premium, and we've got the green. You can check out all of our green room behind-the-scenes shows at rumble.com/timcast for premium members only. And for everybody who watches this show, we have the uncensored call-in show. That is Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m. You get to watch uncensored behind-the-scenes, or I should just say uncensored, and call in and talk to us if you're a member of the Discord. And this is premium content only. We also have full-length documentaries available at rumble.com/timcast.io. So support Rumble. This is becoming the premier video podcasting platform with huge moves coming up. We've got a ton of premium members-only content, and when you sign up, you not only get Timcast content, you'll get Russell Brand, Stephen Cutter's Mug Club, you're going to get Dr. Disrespect, so there is a massive library of content waiting for you guys. Go to timcastpremium.com, sign up now. Don't forget, pick up some Cast Brew coffee. Look at Alex, you know he loves it. Unfortunately for all of you, Ian's Graphene Dream is sold out, but if you go to my text, you can find focus, Mr. Coffee. Sound like hotcakes. Everybody wants to have that beautiful picture of that cat on there, as well as Misty Mountains, a delicious Costa Rican blend. Appalachian Nights, of course, still everybody's favorite. And of course, you can also go to boonieshq.com. I recommend you get the 28th Amendment skateboard. The right to keep, bear, and breed chickens shall not be infringed. Look at that noodle. Tell me that is not the greatest chicken noodle ever grown. It's beautiful. Smash the like button, my friends. Share the show with everyone you know. And I do mean it right now. If everybody, you took that URL, you copied it, you pasted it on all your social media, we'd be the biggest show in the world. And considering we've got some insider information on what went down at the White House, I'm going to tell you the full details, the full story. I was actually in contact with several of these individuals, as many of them are friends of the show, and it looks like a setup. Oh yeah, wait till you hear this one. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we have Amber Duke.
Hi everybody, Amber Duke here. I'm the senior editor for the Daily Caller, the co-host of Free Media at Reason, and the co-host of The Hills Rising. You can check out my book, The Snowflakes Revolt, How Woke Millennials Hijacked American Media. Glad to be here.
We also have Mary.
Hello everyone, I'm back. You normally find me on Pop Culture Crisis here at Timcast. Please like me.
What's up, everybody? My name's Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All Over the Nation. Communist and counter-revolutionary. Let's go.
You like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get started with the letter in question. So, earlier today, I saw this viral photo of many individuals that were holding up these Epstein binders. Can we pull this one up? So this is a letter that was accompanying the binders themselves. It's a letter from AG Pamela Bondi. And it reads, "Dear Director Patel, before you came into office, I requested the full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein. In response to this request, I received approximately 200 pages of documents, which consisted primarily of flight logs, Epstein's list of contacts, and a list of victims' names and phone numbers. I repeatedly questioned whether this was the full set of documents responsive to my request and was repeatedly assured by the FBI that we had received the full set of documents. Late yesterday, I learned from a source that the FBI field office in New York was in possession of thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation and indictment of Epstein. Despite my repeated requests, the FBI never disclosed the existence of these files." Files. When you and I spoke yesterday, you were just as surprised as I was to learn this new information. By 8 a.m. tomorrow, February 28th, the FBI will deliver the full and complete Epstein files to my office, including all records, documents, audio, and video recordings, and materials related to Jeffrey Epstein and his clients, regardless of how such information was obtained. There will be no withholdings or limitations to my or your access. The Department of Justice will ensure that any public disclosure of these files will be done in a manner to protect the privacy of victims and in accordance with the law, as I have done my entire career as a prosecutor. I am also directing you to conduct an immediate investigation into why my order to the FBI was not followed. You will deliver to me a comprehensive report of your findings and proposed personnel action within 14 days. I appreciate your paying attention to this matter, this important matter. I know that we are both committed to transparency for the American people, and I look forward to continuing to work with you to serve our president and our country. Now, the information that's come out so far has since been published on justice.gov. Attorney General Pamela Bondi releases first phase of declassified Epstein files. When the files first were released in these binders, the individuals at the White House were instructed there would be an embargo. And this means, for those not familiar, you cannot release this until a certain date or time. It was supposed to be a couple hours after they received these binders, they could start releasing information. Many people began to wonder why it was. A number of these influencers had very similar statements about transparency and the greatest, most transparent administration, despite not actually releasing any of this information. Later on the day, only a few hours ago, several of these individuals began to scan and publish these files. Interestingly, as an aside, I saw LuGuru working very hard to get these documents released, working with arent, who had these binders, and they kept getting suspended on these various platforms for some reason or another. They did eventually get released, and then we actually have the Justice Department publishing all of the information, which are largely flight logs, an evidence list, a contact book, and a masseuse list, which is presumably victims. Let me give you the quick breakdown, as it was told to me by a couple different individuals who attended. You may have seen the photos. Actually, I wonder if I have the photo I can pull up somewhere. I do, in fact, have one of the photos. This is an image of, we got DC Drano, we got arent, we've got Liz Wheeler, Mike Cernich, all holding up these binders that read Epstein Files Phase 1. Now, I spoke with a handful of these people. Some are very happy, some are a little bit perturbed. It appears that this was a PR stunt. So let me give you the breakdown. This was not a planned event as far as I know. You may be thinking, how come Tim wasn't there at that event? Well, it wasn't an event. This was, at some point, several individuals were invited to do a meet and greet and talk with the press team in the White House. None of them had any idea that they would be handed, or at least as far as I know, the ones individuals I spoke to, none of them had any idea that they'd be handed these binders. When they were told that there was an embargo until something was going to happen with the release, so don't show off anything that's in it. Now the question then becomes, how do these photos emerge? Well, I can only assume, based on the fact the White House has numerous exits, and the fact they handed very big binders to prominent conservative influencers, the intention was to lead them out where the press was and get the press to take all of these photos, thus creating a massive press storm for this. At the same time, this letter was released and ended up dropping earlier than the embargo was supposed to be. And the letter doesn't need to exist. Many people have rightly questioned this. Why would the Attorney General write a letter to Kash Patel where she literally says, I talked to you yesterday? You don't need to do that. She could simply send it a text message. That would imply the purpose of this letter was to create public notification. That with the release of this letter and conservative influencers getting access to it, the public would be made aware that the Attorney General is deeply angered by the fact that the Southern District of New York, the FBI field office, was intentionally withholding Epstein documents in defiance of the AG's order. There's a lot of conspiracies running around as to why this is. I'm going to go with Occam's razor. I believe SDNY is deeply corrupt. This is the same office that was going after James O'Keefe. This is New York, where they went after Trump with fake criminal charges. I do not believe these people are honest, and I believe that it is reasonable to assume FBI New York has gone rogue. That is, they're defying the orders of the selected government and the Attorney General. And thus, if I was going to make an assumption, obviously, I think it's fair to say this is a PR maneuver. That's why the letter exists, otherwise it doesn't need to. Having these influencers with millions of followers plus combined being photographed by the press in every direction, that can't be an accident. I think what happens is Pam Bondi knows SDNY is rogue and is defying her orders and instructions. But how do you deal with these people if she comes out and says, we're going to send in the troops and go raid this office? First of all, you're going to get a huge backlash politically, it's going to generate confusion, and more importantly, they may scramble and begin to start destroying files. A move like this can put scrutiny on the office, making it very difficult for them to move things in or out without getting public attention, as she has just called them out directly as the office. Simply put, I believe that Pam Bondi wanted there to be a major press storm pertaining to the rogue office in New York to give them public support for actions against them, so Kash Patel can move in without any kind of backlash, without any kind of evidence destruction, or at least the best of their abilities. I don't know for sure, but there are some people believe the purpose of this is to scapegoat the Southern District of New York FBI office, so that in the coming days, when they eventually do not release the Epstein document, which everyone's been demanding, they can say the evidence has been destroyed. Find a scapegoat Patsy and some random lawyer or analyst and say, he did it.
He did it.
Who knows what? But I don't know for sure, so I'm curious.
Well, I was talking to Jeff Kramer, who's one of the influencers who was there. I actually ran into him on my way to Newsmax in the elevator, and he was confirming what you said, that he did not think that he was going to the White House to get Epstein files. They were there to meet with Vice President J.D. Vance to talk about messaging for the administration, the conservative movement. Basically, this got dropped on their laps. They told them that they weren't supposed to open these binders until after they left the White House, but one thing of noting here in these pictures that I'm seeing is that they're being escorted back from the Eisenhower Executive Office, which is right next door to the White House, and is where a lot of these meetings take place. And they go right to this area, which is known among the press corps as the Six, which is where foreign leaders,
Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. I've been like watching a little bit of news. I dropped some juice, so let's see that too.
and the Sticks are where they do interviews with the press, and that's where they took the time.
So wait, they could have walked them on any other exit.
They could have taken them out through the EEOB street exit, or they could have just kept going past the press tents, what's known as Pebble Beach, where all the green tents are, where the correspondents do their interviews. But they took them over to the oval where the Sticks are, and then had this huge photo op.
So it's a stunt. What's the purpose of it?
I'm not as optimistic as you that this was all to just call out the SDNY. I think Pam Bondi overpromised a bit, because she was on Jesse Waters last night talking about how this was all so sick and the first batch was going to come out, but she didn't hint that this was going to be a nothing burger. I mean, if you look at the masseuse list, for example, the entire thing is just blocked out. Which is understandable, because these are victims, right? You can't put out their names, but then all of the addresses, phone numbers, everything is all redacted. The only thing you get are the names and Epstein's address book. This is a guy with tons of money, tons of influence and access. Of course, everybody is in that access book, so it doesn't really tell us anything. The only thing of note, which Chad admitted to me, was this letter in the front of it that they wanted to put out. But I think it's a simultaneously putting the burden on SDNY, but also the Trump admin a little bit covering their butts, because they have been promising these documents. I feel like if she didn't have the 1,000 documents that she's talking about on her desk, then she shouldn't have been making this big show of it until she had access to them.
And that's interesting, because I'm going to say an Occam's razor. What is the simple solution here? And what I should say is, there's clarification. The absence of evidence, the solution that makes the least amount of assumptions tends to be correct. Jesse Waters, or when she said, I've got it on my desk.
Yeah.
And maybe it. just, you're on TV, there's no prompter, you're in the heat of the moment, and you just say, look, I got it on my desk, and they're like, you do? And then she went, oh crap, I got something to find out. That's right. Realized it was a big nothing burger and needed to figure something out. That seems to make sense. However, it's not necessarily the simplest of solutions. We know that, look, Southern District of New York went after James O'Keefe. This is the same, it's not the same office necessarily went after Trump, but it is New York. In this same jurisdiction, essentially, at the state level, that went after Donald Trump with false charges. I am not surprised in the least bit to hear that the AG requested documents and they did not turn them over and are resistant, because of all of the offices, this is the one that's presumed to be the most, well, there's two. The DC field office, and I believe SDNY were considered to be deeply corrupt. So I do believe it's entirely possible that Pam Bondi was like, she got a call. Well, actually, let's pause. She didn't go on TV and said, I got the Epstein list on my desk. But the story is also that it wasn't until last night, I believe, that she got a call, whistleblower, saying there's more documents. So she did promise this would be it.
I think it's fair to say that the SDNY is probably doing what she's accusing them of, but I would say, she did a press conference, I think it was last week, announcing that she was filing these charges against Letitia James and Kathy Hochul and the DMV guy in New York, and that got tons of press attention. So I don't know why she couldn't have done the exact same thing to levy the charges against the SDNY. Why do you have to trot out the influencers with this item?
Where they were going after Eric Adams. When Pam Bondi and the Trump administration instructed them to drop the charges, they started resigning in mass. Like, these people are deep, leftist ideologues. Maybe there's nothing related to the Epstein list. Maybe they're trying to find a way to purge out this ideologically driven office. Who knows? But I'll tell you, they're claiming that Pam Bondi says, you will, or the FBI will. She's basically telling cash, like, I'm your boss. I want the FBI to give me these documents tomorrow morning. The question is, tomorrow, 12 hours from now, are they going to get them?
I don't know. I really hope they do. I think there's a lot of people that are going to look at this and they're just going to feel like the administration is dodging.
Yeah.
And regardless of if substance doesn't come soon, and I think that this even overshadows the letter that she sent to New York's Southern District, which I do think that it's likely that they're covering stuff up. They're trying to protect people that had been somehow broken the law or whatever. But I think that it's a bad look to do this.
I've got a clarification and a correction. I just did a quick search. The Southern District of New York has conducted multiple investigations involving Trump. The Michael Cohen investigation, inaugural committee investigation, attempts to influence SDNY. So the Cohen thing is particularly interesting. In August 2018, SDNY prosecutors charged Michael Cohen, Trump's former attorney, with campaign finance violations related to hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. So that is the hush money case that they've brought against Trump. I believe that was the state level. I could be wrong. My apologies, but so much has happened, it kind of just muddles together.
The theory that this is some kind of 4D chess scheme on Pam Bondi's part against SDNY just doesn't hold up, in my view. I think it's true that she overpromised and maybe an unintended consequence is that people are realizing the corruption of SDNY, but I do not believe the narrative that she was planning this whole precedent to turn people's attention. And even if she did, it's clearly not working, because the main narrative that I'm seeing so far is that people are angry at her and at the Trump administration for overpromising, and what appears to be lying to the public about what they were going to get access to. And that's what I'm mad about. It also doesn't justify the fact that the House Judiciary official account for the House Judiciary GOP rickrolled us.
Yeah.
Literally, first of all, that's not even a funny meme in 2025. It's been 15 years since anyone thought that was funny. But second of all, that is so deeply disrespectful, not only to the people who voted this administration into power, but also deeply disrespectful to the victims of child trafficking that are in question.
Well, let me pull this up. We have this tweet from the House Judiciary GOP breaking. Epstein files released, and there's a link here. Should I click the link? And it redirects to tiny URL, which redirects to YouTube. I love how they block the record. They're like, don't do it,
Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it.
Okay, we get it. This lit people up.
Yeah.
What? George Alexopoulos, aka G Prime 85, says women were raped. The monsters who organized and participated still walk among us, and you're joking about it.
4.5 million views and 6.1 thousand likes.
Like, this is not a good look.
No, not at all. Absolutely.
So even if this was some kind of like grand scheme that Pam Bondi formulated to turn media attention to the state, it's not.
Yeah, and there are people in my mentions on Twitter that are just like, yo, let Tim know that everybody's blah and everything. Like, genuinely angry about this
Then
situation.
there are other people who are coping and they're like, no, it's actually hilarious if you really like squint and tilt your head and think about it.
Yeah.
It's not funny.
No.
It's not funny at all. And then there are other people when I pointed this out saying like, oh well, someone's jealous that they weren't invited to the
Oh, that's
Oh.
Now, I will
Oh,
say,
right.
a lot of people are jealous they were not invited to this thing. No,
There were people who were. I would say on the influencer side, though, I mean, I know a lot of these people. I'm friends with a lot of these people. I like them. I respect them. If I had gotten this document, I would have been immediately scanning everything as quickly as possible, and I would have had a link with all of the documents in it ASAP. Like, I would not be posting repeated pictures. I would not be posting the press statement from the White House about how this is the most transparent administration in history. Give people the information. Like, I'm not trying to wait for libs of TikTok to go through and give me the highlights. No offense.
I mean, who cares about that getting invited to the White House? I'm sure it was a late party anyway. I mean,
That line though, the line that they kept repeating about this is the most transparent administration in history was copy and pasted. It sounded like, this is why I don't think it was necessarily something they were blindsided by. It sounds like something was sent to them in an email for social media delivery.
they were blindsided. Look,
And why are they copy and pasting the same statement over and over on
So-
the timeline?
so, first I will say this. It's not that I'm jealous that they didn't invite me. It's like,
Disappointed.
my friend flew in to DC and didn't tell me they were coming. And I'm calling people, I'm like, bro, are you in DC? Like, come on, man. Like, at least come get a burger with me. I don't care about the White House. How could you guys? No, but I talked to a handful of people, and this is why that actually leads me to my belief they were blindsided to this. A handful of these people are good friends of ours, friends of the show, and I asked them, and I was like, hey, like, what went down today? And they were like, we had no idea this was happening. And like, some of my friends were like, bro, if they told us we were going to do something, I would hit you up immediately and said, bro, come quick, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, it's whatever. Like, the only thing that I was saying is, come on the show, man. When everybody's flying out, everybody's like, I can't believe it, you came here for a meeting. I do believe that most of the people had no idea this was going to happen. Now, the question is, why are they all tweeting the most transparent administration? Why are they all taking selfies? There's a reason why I think the people who got invited. I don't mean to be disrespectful to them, but they're not journalists. Now, I think some of them are, but they're largely personalities and influencers. They lean more towards the influencer space. But I don't want to say that all I think Mike Cernovich certainly does. You know, he deserves half the credit for the breaking of the Epstein story in the first place. He worked, I think it was Mike, he worked on this filing documents he released. So did I believe it was the Miami Herald. So some of these people there, you'll see they're not posting these selfies. But I think the strategy from the White House was, we don't want Amber to show up, start scanning the documents right away. We want people who are going to be happy to be here, who are going to say, look, the message is, we are being transparent. We are the most transparent. Here's the binder. Don't share anything that's in it just yet. And what are a bunch of these people going to do? Selfie! Bang! Look at me. I got a binder. People were straight up tweeting, I got a binder. And it's like, yeah, okay, dude,
That is
I don't care what's in it.
Taking the selfie in and of itself is so foolish. You know, like there's no sensitivity. It's not sensitivity. There's no gesture at understanding the gravity of the situation.
I feel that I have to share this now to get ahead of it because this is a brewing scandal. I was forced to take a selfie with the Epstein binder. I was mic'd up. I didn't know what to do, and I made
is PR strategy. So look, maybe Mary, you're correct that Amani had planned this 40 chess weeks in advance, but certainly what happened today was pre-planned in that they made binders and made this letter to Cash. She could have literally called Cash and said, yo, WTF, like, they're not giving documents, get me those documents. Like, and nice story. She drafted this beautiful letter and then gave it to everybody. That was a PR stunt for whatever reason, for whatever was planned, it never really happened. Someone super chatted very simply, why was their messaging the same? They all just got out of a messaging meeting with Vance. They were going to meet with Vance about messaging. And Vance sounded like the most transparent administration ever. Here, and they handed the binders out, and then everybody tweeted it. Literally not every single person tweeted, but a lot of them did. Not because they were told to do it, but because they were told it.
They just have peanuts for brains.
We're going to talk to them about that.
Talk to them about that. They have peanuts for
It
brains.
sounds like it was in the email in a PR packet that was given to
They might have gotten
at the time or after.
Or they might have gotten a fact sheet after.
Yes. The email not
They'll do a briefing, then they'll send a fact sheet once you leave to help inform your stories.
The people that I spoke to who were there had full of them. And they all told me the same thing. And they're not lying to me. Like, there's other, these are people that I deeply trust, out of the show, that have confided in me crazy things in the past, that have said, either something will be on background or off the record, and I maintain that privacy for all these individuals. And I have heard the same story, even independent of what I was told. Amber had the same story from Chad, being like, we didn't even know this was happening.
In that case, I'm gonna believe they misspoke and said everything to them after that.
That makes sense. A fact sheet or talking points.
Yeah, and that's pretty standard.
Right, and not everybody tweets the same thing, but a lot of them did.
Yeah, like I said, this is an unforced error, and there are people that were already deeply skeptical of Pam Bondi. And they are a narrow group of people that are gun owners and too bad and stuff. They were, very skeptical of Pam Bondi, and I think this did nothing to help that skepticism. And not that it's not the end of the world, but it does make the administration look kind of,
Makes them look fucking
Now
shitty. Say it.
really have to deliver now because this was bungled and people are more focused on the influencer part of it than they are on what was in the files because the files have nothing in them. So if they don't release phase 2 or phase 3 and those are not bombshells, they're in trouble.
There are two potential outcomes, two principal outcomes from this, and I think are most likely. One is tomorrow morning, someone, Cash or otherwise, they confirm documents in full have been transferred to the AG's office, and there were redactions or whatever, wherever that leads. The other is SDNY gets raided by the DC office or some law enforcement because the message that Pam Bondi has sent out is FBI's field office has gone rogue and has defied the orders of the Attorney General. If tomorrow morning they do not confirm receipt of these documents, they may as well say, we have no power, and the FBI office is its own agency independent of our government.
Look, if Internal Affairs raids the FBI Southern District office, if they're gearing up for a full-on, FBI raiding the FBI raid,
How could they not?
and I would love to see it. I would love to see it.
Unless they say, we got the documents. And then if they do, it's going to be people outside screaming, rabble, 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 demanding the documents be published. So how do they navigate whatever this is? Whether it's an, what do you call it, unforced error?
Yeah, unforced error.
Either or it's on purpose, the principal outcomes are going to be, it is substantially worse now that this story is so massive. It's a Thursday night. We shouldn't be getting this viewership, 4.5 million views on a stupid joke.
Yeah.
The attention on this is massive because people want the Epstein information. If SDNY does not deliver, or for that matter, if they do, and Pam Bondi says they didn't, people are going to be screaming outside of SDNY demanding law enforcement move in. So whatever happened today, it has created a tinderbox for tomorrow. Something has to happen.
Yeah, and this early in the administration, you don't want to have a significant, serious shake in faith, of the people actually doing things. I mean, I see you smirking, Mary. You're a skeptic of everything all the time, anyways, and you're like, let it burn.
It's also strange to me that this
this became happening in the first place because most people who voted for Trump don't care about the Epstein files. They just care about getting inflation under control and closing the border.
Yeah, I agree.
So why are we even, if you weren't planning to deliver on the promise, well, first of all, don't promise it in the first place, but also just shut your mouth.
Unless it's real.
Unless it's real.
Yeah, unless Pam Bondi was like, hey, let's release the Epstein files, and SDNY lied to her, and then she found out they lied to her.
And
And
also,
part of the nothing ever happens gang.
yeah.
It again.
So
I don't
look,
think that was ever planned.
you're right. It is kind of like it's a very, and I've said this before. It's a very narrow group of people that care about this. And the thing is, they care a lot. So there may not be. It's not a very broad group of people that are going to be like, yeah, we need to know. This is kind of red meat for a particular constituency. But those people are very invested, and they'll be very vocal on the interwebs. And Donald Trump. You know, like TikTok was, in my opinion, was a bad idea to say, oh, we're just going to go ahead and make a concessions.
Yeah, it's your time. That's your code.
Yeah, here. Here.
No, you gotta do the thing.
Oh, here.
That's your thing.
Yeah, I'll go back here.
Hey, what are you doing? What is that shit? That's slide. It's Andy. That's really cool. I think I want to go talk to him.
Okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go over there and you tell him you like his paint job and his rims. You got this.
Hey man, really like your paint. You want a rim job? What? Shit.
But he did it because TikTok would be vocally against him. He wants people to like him. He wants to look on the internet.
He wants people to like him.
He does. He wants to look on the internet and see people saying nice things about him. So that's a big part of why he's doing this.
I will just say, outside of all of this, it is a fact. Okay, it's not literally a fact, but I think any reasonable person can conclude. Donald Trump's administration hates SDNY with a passion.
True.
They went after him. They went after Eric Adams. Trump tries. They ordered up the charges. They resign in protest. They filed lawsuits to stop the dismissal of the charges. The craziest thing I ever heard is that the federal government was prosecuting Eric Adams. The DOJ cuts a deal with the mayor, which is par for the course in law enforcement every single day. A prosecutor will say, if you snitch, if you do this, if you help us with that, we'll drop the charges every day. And when the DOJ did with Eric Adams, SDNY they couldn't protest, lawsuits are filed, and a judge ruled they couldn't drop the charges they were prosecuting.
They're also trying to dismiss it without prejudice so they could bring the charges back at any time. So, yeah,
The Trump administration wanted that?
yeah, exactly. So if Eric Adams didn't play ball, they could bring the charges back. Or if he did play ball and they decided that the evidence was so serious that they needed to move ahead anyway, they could wait until the administration's coming to an end and they could bring that back.
It's not even a free pass.
No, it's not a free pass. But I will say, I've done briefings with DOJ officials on this issue, and they do believe that it was a politically motivated prosecution against Eric Adams, and they feel like the evidence is pretty thin.
I agree. When you look at the timeline on Eric Adams, let me do this. Let's start here before we jump into the Eric Adams stuff, because we did get a statement from Kash Patel. This is breaking from the Post-Millennial. Cash Patel vows to swiftly pursue those who undermine the FBI after AG Pam Bondi reveals FBI NY withheld Epstein documents. So Cash has posted this statement. The FBI is entering a new era, one that will be defined by integrity, accountability, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. There will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, and no stone left unturned. And anyone from the prior or current bureau who undermines this will be swiftly pursued. If there are gaps, we will find them. If records have been hidden, we will uncover them. We will bring everything we find to the DOJ to be fully assessed and transparently disseminated to the American people as it should be. The oath we take is of the Constitution, and under my leadership, that promise will be upheld without compromise. So for those just tuning in, the conversation we're having is the Southern District of New York and the FBI field office are being accused of intentionally covering up Epstein documents, hiding them from the AG who ordered them. Now, we don't know exactly what's going on, but on the surface, the story is Pam Bondi was contacted by a whistleblower who said the FBI office in New York is sitting on thousands of documents, audio and video, that they have not turned over to Helix evidence. She then wrote a letter to Kash Patel, which seems very obvious was intended to be made public, saying, I demand that these documents be handed over to me and you assess what happened and why. The important context that we're getting into, the Southern District of New York has gone after Trump, gone after Trump's lawyers, and recently was going after Mayor Eric Adams. Amber just pointed out that you said you spoke with prosecutors.
Yes, DOJ officials who are trying to get the SDNY to drop the charges. This is, they're moving to have it dismissed without prejudice, which means that they could bring the charges again at a later date.
This is where everything gets crazy. The DOJ comes in under a newly elected Trump administration and says, Eric Adams, we want you to work with us, and if you agree to, we'll drop the charges for now. Eric Adams says, I will play ball. The DOJ then instructs the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney's Office to drop the charges, and they refuse. Several of these individuals in the office begin resigning in protest. A lawsuit is filed, and a judge decides, this is insane, no, you can't drop the charges you're pursuing. What? Who's going to prosecute? The judge is now saying a special prosecutor is coming in. I think it is patently obvious. New York, the federal offices are no longer federal. They are rogue and operating under some kind of, who knows what? Maybe the Democratic Party machine, I don't know, but they're obviously working in tandem with the state government, who also filed false criminal charges against Donald Trump and even falsely convicted him of it.
And this is not abnormal because under the Biden administration, the Richmond field office of the FBI got in trouble because they sent out a memo to field agents telling them to infiltrate traditional Catholic churches and TLMs, traditional Latin masses, because the people who attend those masses might become quote-unquote domestic terrorists. And actually that memo did spread to other field offices as well, and when Chris Wray found out about it, he claimed that he didn't know anything about it. I don't know how true that is. But still, it's not abnormal for these offices to kind of do their own thing and then get a slap on the wrist from the FBI headquarters. And the other thing on the Eric Adams case that I would mention too is one of the complicating factors with these charges, which is why he's not capable of working with the Trump admin right now on deportations, is he's not allowed to have a security clearance. So he cannot look at arrest records or anything related to law enforcement of illegal aliens in New York because he doesn't have the clearance to do it. So that's the primary reason why they want the charges dropped, and so he can get his security clearance back and start assisting ICE, DOJ, FBI.
They've gone rogue. New York, from the federal offices and state offices, appear to be operating independent from the federal government. I mean, the state obviously does.
Midst of all of the actions taken in the first month of the administration, and it's a lot juicier than this Epstein binder, I will say. I mean, there's probably 100, 150 bullet points here. Granted, a lot of them are executive orders, but I mean, we have border crossings at a record low.
Yeah.
Tons of cutting of waste, or at least pausing federal. I mean, we paused all federal funding, especially foreign aid, which the foreign aid question was just held up by a court.
I'm sympathetic to Mary too, because I am of the opinion that legislation is what matters. Like, you can talk a lot about the executive orders, but you do have a point about like if they're executive orders, they'll just get overturned by the next guy. But I do think that things like Doge and cuts to the side, the various bureaucracies, I think that does matter. I also think the American people are generally behind that kind of stuff. I think that matters too. You actually make these cuts, and then you don't see negative repercussions from the cuts happening to your average everyday person. I think you'll end up getting the legislation to make the cuts permanent.
I want to issue a clarification because we got super chat from here when it says, Tim, you leaked the Bondi letter first on YouTube, which you claimed was from an unnamed source. Didn't you sense that something was off with the leaked AG letter? No, 3 p.m. was earmarked, and my video went live at 3 p.m. However, other individuals published the letter before the embargo was lifted at around 2:33. I know, because I immediately got in contact with a couple of my sources on the ground, and I said, looks like the letter's already been leaked. So I did not leak it first. And on Twitter, on X, when I posted it, it was about 2 minutes after it had already been released by other parties. Yeah. I take journalistic integrity very seriously. That is, my sources, if they ask not to be named, I will name them. If they give me information on the background it's called, I will name them. If there are individuals, there are circumstances in which you break these. If there's an embargo, I will break it. But you want individuals who trust you, and we want to get the information to the public. If I've got people who are working in the White House, and I say, you can't trust me, I'll defy anything you tell me, they'll not tell me anything, and I can't tell you anything. So you agree to some terms to try and maximize the amount of information you get, knowing the individuals setting those terms are doing so for their benefit. But it is better that we compromise on the exchange of information so that I can bring it to you, as opposed to just give them the middle finger and get nothing. That being said, were I or Amber, as we discussed earlier, gone, if we had gone to one of these meetings, we would have been like, the moment the clock strikes, we're publishing everything.
Yeah, I would have had a scripty account with all the documents in it, with a scheduled set time to go live at 3. 100%. And it would have gone right on the Daily Caller website, and maybe I would have had like an accompanying post with the top 10 things that are in the Epstein files for those who don't want to read all the documents, but I would absolutely make them all available, no question.
Yeah, indeed. I think that I think my opinion still lands as this was a bad move. It should have been, the AG's, whatever it was that they decided to do. It doesn't make anybody happy. It doesn't satisfy anyone, and it just makes for non-enforced errors.
I hear you.
I still feel like we're not going to see.
Oh, no!
I don't disagree. Like, the idea that they would ever publish a list of powerful billionaires and movie stars and musicians that were involved in the trafficking ring, and we're going to expose these power structures, it feels like...
No! I know!
It's like
The fucking code.
I feel the same way about the JFK, RFK, and MLK documents. Like, people who are getting all excited about that, saying, if you really think the CIA was involved in the assassination of these individuals, which, by the way, I agree with you, do we really think that they wouldn't have scrubbed the evidence of that like 30 years ago, and we're now 60 plus years on, and suddenly it's all going to come out, and they're going to indict themselves?
Yeah.
There are other questions that still remain unanswered about more recent events. Like, I'm waiting for the Stephen Paddock files.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And after all these years, I'm still waiting on answering questions about that. Biggest mass shooting in U.S. history. And most people, if you mentioned it to them, would be like, I don't even know if I remember that. Like, it was completely memorable.
And that probably also indicts the intelligence community in a number of ways.
Yeah.
We've got a very big story. Before we do that, my friends, smash the like button, share the show, and if you are watching, subscribe to this channel. It really does help. And become a member of Rumble Premium. Go to tipcastpremium.com, sign up. We're going to have an uncensored call-in show coming up at 10 p.m. where we're going to take questions from the audience. And like I was saying, take the URL of this video, post it wherever you can. Really does help. If everybody watching right now shared, in the biggest show in the world. Let's jump to the story from the Daily Mail. This is crazy, my friends. State Accident Insurance Fund CEO targeted in terrifying attack by hooded gunmen. That is Oregon home. Now, we don't know exactly what this is, but this sounds very similar to what Luigi Mangione did. And considering how many post TikTok videos wearing Luigi hats, demanding people engage in this kind of behavior, it was sooner or later we were going to story something like this. Take a look. An insurance CEO was targeted in a gun attack by a gunman at his home in Oregon, with eerie similarities to Brian Thompson's murder in New York last year. The unidentified suspect aimed at State Accident Insurance Fund CEO Chip Terhun's $1.68 million home in Lake Oswego around 4 a.m. Friday. A grainy surveillance image released by Oswego police showed this force last week. Gunman donning all dark clothes with possible hoodie or ski mask. The perpetrator is believed to have fled the scene on foot, and as of Thursday, he remains on the run. 3 bullets shattered the glass of the CEO's front door and windows. The doors have since been boarded up with wood. Following day, Terhune informed staff at SAIF, a not-for-profit company that provides worker compensation in the state, that he initially thought rocks were being used in his home. Terhune, who was worth more than $764,000, honestly, it's a lot of money, but we're not talking about a guy was in an email to his more than 1,000 employees informing them the company received an email threat reported to be from the person responsible. I got an image, this is crazy. Although it does not target any specific employee, the email references knowledge of employee relatives' names and addresses. He further explained the sender attached a list containing Some of the information sourced from internet searches, including many inaccuracies to the threatening message. He then attached that list to the employee emails, and the company will reach out to them to share what information was dug up on. So he clarified he isn't sure if he was targeted, but is now doing well, ready to work. We're looking at two big stories right now. I mean, this one, obviously, we saw this breaking last week, and now there's more information on it. Another CEO is attacked. We have seen the last, recently a story, this woman went on X, or I'm sorry, she went on TikTok, and called for harm, called for people to end the life of Elon Musk. I believe a U.S. attorney responded that he'd be in touch with her. We're hoping there's justice in that regard. But the threats of violence from the left have escalated. And my friends, hear me go to any one of these liberal podcasts and subreddits and just search the term simply liberal and see what these people are posting about. Search the term Luigi on any one of these subreddits, and what will you find? They're going to be saying things like, Luigi was always my favorite Mario brother. They're going to be saying things like, we need more people playing Player 2. They're making all of these references to them wanting death, murder, and destruction. Now we have two big stories. Another attempt on the life of an insurance CEO, which may be unrelated, who knows? Considering the far left sentiment public over the past several weeks, months, or a year, I would not be surprised to find it was related. And then we have claims, whether true or not, that the New York attorneys and FBI offices are rogue and not operating under the purview of the federal government. What are we looking at right now?
It seems like things are escalating. Look, this attack by on this other CEO here. I mean, look, this is not a surprise. There are going to be more like this. There was the person that was shooting up a Tesla dealership, even though Musk isn't there, that was only symbolic. This right here is in the exact same vein. What?
Did we ever figure out what the motivation was behind the Cybertruck explosion?
No. And I want to stress this too, as Phil put it in real quick, I'm just going to say, another one of these stories is they just arrested a transgender individual that Fox referred to as a woman with explosives in a Tesla dealership. They've been shooting up Tesla dealerships, smashing them, vandalizing them, and trying to blow them up. But Phil, you were saying?
Yeah, it's a situation where this stuff is I strongly feel like this is going to continue to escalate. There are people like Kyle Kulinski and Crystal Ball and Hassan Piker and etc. These people have been talking about the class war for ages. The whole of Bread Tube has been talking about class war. And whether you're actually articulating, you should engage in violence or not, when you spew the rhetoric of a class war in the United States, that the reason that you're poor or the reason that you're dissatisfied, because it's really the situation, it's not about who has money and who doesn't. There are plenty of people out there that are poor, that even though they live paycheck to paycheck, they live fulfilled lives, that they love their families, they have other things in their lives that make them happy. But when you have an argument that is made constantly that the reason you are dissatisfied in your life is because of billionaires, that's the specific reason. And if we could just get rid of those billionaires, you would be happy in your life. You are going to get poorly adjusted people. You're going to get the mentally ill people that completely and totally dominate when it comes to the ground forces on the left. Those people will go out and act. And I'm not saying, you shouldn't be able to say this, you shouldn't be able to say that, but there is now a climate in the United States that it is acceptable, and to some people it is obvious, not that I agree with this, but it is obvious that the problem is that there are a handful of billionaires in the world. And the thought is, if we could just solve the billionaire problem, then we would solve whatever it ails me. I'm trans and I'm unhappy. Whatever your disorder is will be fixed just by solving the billionaire problem. But one more additional problem to that is the people that are dissatisfied, the people that are unhappy, they're not actually going to be able to find the billionaires. They're going to find people that are worth a couple $1 million, or people that just have more than they do.
So right now, we had a conversation with Chuck Carlson. He said, for instance, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being, we're not necessarily poor, and 10 being, I can see them coming around the corner, where would you guys think we are on that scale?
I'd say we're at 5 or 6.
5 or 6. That's over the middle. What do you think? Mary's going to say 1.
Nothing ever happened.
Nothing ever happens.
killed that fucking guy.
Multi-million-dollar COVID-19 vaccination development program. The multi-million-dollar Biden-era COVID-19 vax project has been halted. Stop work order comes as 10,000 individuals were slated to begin clinical trials on Monday. The first major move from RFK Jr., who is now heading up the HHS, and of course, as the political world in turmoil as Democrats are losing their minds, as they often do. Here's a story from Fox News. The Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has paused a multi-million-dollar contract with Biden administration to create a new COVID-19 vaccine. Fox News digital alert. Well, it's crucial the Department of Health and Human Services support pandemic preparedness. I can't do it. Pandemic preparedness. 4 years the Biden administration's failed oversight made it necessary to review agreements for vaccine production, including vaxarts. Kennedy said in a comment provided to Fox News Digital on Tuesday. I look forward to working with Vaxart and medical experts to ensure this work produces safe, effective, and fiscal-minded vaccine technology. Kennedy issued a 90-day stop work order on Friday related to the HHS contract with American biotech company Vaxart Inc., which is working to develop a new COVID-19 vaccine that can be taken orally. The stop work order counts as 10,000 individuals who were slated to begin clinical trials on Monday. The trial is only paused, not terminated, with Kennedy and other health officials set to examine the study's initial findings over the next 90 days before deciding on the next steps. The creation of a new COVID-19 vaccine was part of the Biden administration's $4.7 billion project NextGen Initiative, which was launched in 2023. The work to streamline the development of new vaccines. BARDA, which is the Biomedical Advanced Research Development Authority, allocated $460 million to Vaxart's development of a new vaccine, with a total of $240 million already being authorized for the preliminary study. This recent modification of the contract would allow Vaxart to invoice BARDA for the remaining roughly $230 million for clinical trials, but the stop work order prevents the biotech company from invoicing BARDA until further notice. Vaxart, however, can still invoice HHS related to medical monitoring of individuals who took part in the initial round of trials. The announcement comes just under 2 weeks. Kennedy was confirmed and sworn in as the 26th chief of HHS. The same day he was sworn in, Trump signed an executive order creating the Make America Healthy Again Commission.
A teachers union is suing.
Laverick coffee travels around the world to your cup. Every Laverick is equipped with bean-to-cup machines, so it's
Same day he was sworn in, Trump signed an executive order creating the Make America Healthy Again Commission. Well, oh boy. What is this? It says a COVID-19 vaccine for mandated across the federal government on the Biden cabinet. This sign says Pfizer COVID-19 boosters available, no Moderna. Kennedy ran as a Democrat. We know this already. This is absolutely fascinating. And of course, we have this from the Daily Beast. RFK Jr.'s FDA abruptly cancels flu vaccine meeting with no explanation. And there was no. A very few votes for us. RFK Jr., Trump, you won. YouTube, I got questions for you. What's your policy on vaccines right now? Because if RFK Jr. comes out and claims that they're unsafe, or publishes findings that you find to be in violation of your rules, do we go to the health experts and science, or do we lie to not get banned from the internet? You see, during the Biden administration, and to a degree in the Trump administration, the first Trump administration was weak. If you're getting this, Trump did a good job, weak, okay? He did a good job, net positive. When COVID first broke, there were news reports of something strange happening in China, and we covered it here on Zindex, and we got demonetized for doing so. YouTube told us that covering the story would result in demonetization. They were creating a pressure to stop people from covering the news. The story then went viral. They said, okay, fine, now you guys can talk about it and not get demonetized. Now we're here. First month of COVID, everybody lost money. It was weird. Ad sales collapsed. Revenue was way down. And I was looking at their numbers like, yikes. Wow. But then, the next several months, here, Donald Trump Jr. did. You don't need to know the story. It's just fingers not doing well. All begin with an infinite.
You're definitely telling the story later.
Maybe later, maybe. I just don't want anyone to be blamed. It's no one's fault but my own, and it's your fault. And the dirty Mexicans who did the construction in the economic places. So, glad to be with you. Hey, quick question. Is President Trump cutting Medicaid? Medicaid's got its fault. That's what you hear from the answer, of course, is no. Canada just had a debate for vying for the head of the Liberal Party to replace Justin Trudeau, and there were some threats made. Do you know that they kind of threatened to potentially nuke the United States? That's not a clickbait headline. They actually imply it, and it's silly because Canada shouldn't exist. We have the Epstein watch. There could be a list released right now. I believe when it's 10, 12 Eastern, so we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to be new. But hey, how much does it cost for an NGO to funnel taxpayer dollars to a nonprofit and make a puppet show? About 17 million. You're talking about that. The hits just keep coming and figuring out the fraud. So, as we talk about Canada, I guarantee you that I'll probably lose my mind. So if you're still watching on YouTube, you shouldn't be. You might see this. That means head on over to Rumble. We don't censor there. It's a live show weekdays, 10 a.m. Eastern, including tomorrow. If you're a Rumble Premium member, question to you: what scares you most about Canada? Don't say nothing. Gerald, glad to have you here, Ken. What do you think? And Mr. Josh, I say not. There you go on the Rumble. It's a big next Rumble. Some workers who were terminated by Doge have not been taking it well. Let's start with this.
I really felt that we were providing support and care to the community around the world because it's the right thing to do. And that made me feel proud no matter who was president. And now I don't know what to do. And I have cried every day. I think that that's normal. I have a 15-month-old at home and I'm looking at him and thinking, well, what's this country that we're now living in? We're here for safety. And we're patriots. We love our country. That's why we're taking these jobs that don't pay us in the private sector. I'm
Bullshit, you get paid.
a private sector
You get
job
paid, bitch.
tomorrow, but I care about this country and I want to be here.
Just witnessing what the entire industry is going down, and what are the senators going to do about it?
Did he just say this entire industry is going down?
Yes. It's not an industry.
It's not an industry at all.
The bloat industry?
Yes. Yeah, public service. I could get a job in the private sector. Well, then why didn't you?
Do it.
Why didn't you? That's a real question. Do you really believe that this person is doing it just for altruistic reasons? I did it because I want to serve my country. By doing accounting for a government bureaucracy, that's how you're serving your country. So we've now equated suckling at the taxpayer teat to serving your country. I've said this in the past. I want to do away with the term public servant unless there is a significant pay cut and some. How do you gauge your public service? How much have you risked? How much have you sacrificed? And by that objective, quantifiable parameter, Donald Trump is the most servicey public servant in the history of this country.
Yeah, absolutely. Elon Musk, you put him right there. People are like, oh, he's making so much money. Do you know how much he's lost?
Yeah.
Because of the Tesla boycotts that people, $120 billion of personal worth.
Yeah.
He had sacrificed. And you're like, oh, he got a $12 billion Starlink contract. Okay, or whatever it was. I think it was a SpaceX. Who cares?
Also, are you a strong patriot or do you cry every day?
Which
I'm a strong, independent woman, but it's pretty normal to cry every day over something that people experience usually half a dozen times in their life, right? Like layoffs. And isn't that normal? Isn't that healthy? No, it's not. I know what am I implying? I'm implying that if you're crying every day because you lost a job that shouldn't exist, you're weak. You're weak of character.
It's probably good for a 15-month-old son.
See mom crying.
Yeah.
With that strong male fit weight.
Yes, exactly. Here's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to foster stability and confidence in the child regardless of your circumstances. In other words, even if you had no money to eat, that child shouldn't know until you reach that point. That is your job as a parent, your duty. But that would require you to think about it, not feel. That's the problem with this country. The problem with modern feminism is it's permeated everything. We'll get to Canada in a second.
Speaking of feminism,
I feel this way about this job. Yeah, okay, but is that what the numbers show? Do you think that the job is necessary? Do the Americans who pay the job think? Right. How about this? Americans should be able to determine. You know how we determine here if someone is paid? I determine if it's worth it, and you do. There's a decision that is made. Why? Because it's this guy's money. It's your money. Use it when you need it, taxpayer.
Well, we should write a jingle for this.
Yeah.
Missed out.
Oh, Doji Wentworth, 877 audit now. There we go. I have some kind of as long as I don't have to see flow from Progressive. I'm just, guys, is it me? Do you have any sympathy for these? I don't. I don't even feel a little bit bad. Does that make me a sociopath? I don't even feel like a little bit bad.
No.
I know what you think, like
25
maybe
to
2%,
No percent.
People
0.
25 to 34 watch my
not even
shit.
0.2%.
That's it.
0% bad for
Check
these
this
people
out.
because I guarantee you
People
they
only
wouldn't feel
35
bad
to
for
30,
you.
25 to 34 watch my shit.
2021 or whatever year it was when they got the military out for not getting the vaccine.
Exactly.
I didn't hear an ounce of empathy, an ounce of sympathy from them.
Mostly
They
guys.
protest then, right, Josh?
Yeah, it's 100% guys.
Yep.
You know what I did see?
India,
did see the same
Germany,
people,
United States.
The same side, saying stuff like, you know what? If you didn't get the vaccine, back in the line for you at the hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Exactly.
You don't get treatment. That's what I saw.
Yeah. Where was the empathy for businesses that were shutting down? Right.
And they lost their medical care and they lost their jobs.
Yep. Businesses that were started not at the taxpayer's expense, but at great risk to the business creator. I think it's over 700,000 that shuttered during COVID. Mission Control, you can fact check me on that. I believe that's number 700,000 shuttered. Where was the empathy then? Where was the sympathy then? Governor Whitmer, Newsom, Cuomo. Where? But now we're supposed to have empathy for the people who are doing a useless job at the taxpayer's expense. No, we don't. Those businesses shouldn't have been shut down during COVID. These jobs should be cut. That's the difference. Why? Not because I feel, but because it's right. Let's go to something else that is right. Donald Trump, President Trump, is not gutting or cutting Medicaid. Okay? But the left right now, have you heard this? They've been fear-mongering. Well, they accuse us of fear-mongering. Kind of like they accuse us of hate while they call you a Nazi. And don't let that work, by the way. They did it with Nixon, Reagan, Bush Sr. They even did it with Quayle, certainly George W. Bush, and Donald Trump. They did it with Mitt Romney, for crying out loud. They've accused every single conservative or Republican of being a Nazi since the 1960s. But you're the one who's fear-mongering. So now they're going out, and I don't know if this is being fact-checked by PolitiFact, by WAPO, if this is fake news.
See.
The left is saying, hey, Medicaid is going to be cut. Medicaid is going to, Donald Trump's going to gut Medicaid. Is it true? Well, it's time for an installment of Claim Truth. And before we get into this little bit, Medicaid, I want you to close your eyes for just a second. Please, close your eyes. Picture the kind of recipient in your mind's eye of Medicaid. Who do you picture, right? When you think Medicaid, not Medicare, Medicaid. Okay, open them. It's not. It's not.
Just across the board.
And it's between 50 to $100 billion in just fraud that we don't know about with Medicaid. Okay, but before we get to that, one of the claims that is being made on the left is that there's nothing wrong with Medicaid, first off, and that it's inefficient, this claim that people like you and I make, that's actually not true. Long wait times are a myth. Here's the truth before we get to the montage. Hey, Roger, you're on Medicaid. What do you think? All right, let's get to the next claim.
Okay.
Right now, this is everywhere in the media, and they're really hoping to gin up some fear and solidify some votes. We'll get to the demographics in a second. Trump wants to gut Medicaid.
Republicans playing with fire as they try to gut important benefits for millions. And they passed a bill that's not paid for, that will add to the deficit, that'll give $4.5 trillion of tax cuts to billionaires and the largest corporations, and will gut Medicaid and take health care away from millions of Americans.
Wrong.
It's astonishing.
They want to cut a minimum, the floor of $880 billion from Medicaid.
House Republicans' bill framework is to cut about $880 billion from Medicaid.
Okay, here's the truth. Medicaid is mentioned nowhere in the bill at all. Not even a little bit.
Once?
Not even, I know, that's a fair question. No, not even once. As a matter of fact, the one time that Donald Trump was asked about this, he was, some could argue, quite clear in his answer.
Can you guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will not be touched?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that question. This will not be read my lips. It won't be read my lips anymore. We're not going to touch it. Now, we are going to look for fraud. I'm sure you're okay with that, like people that shouldn't be on, people that are illegal aliens and others, criminals in many cases.
Okay.
That was clear. By the way, I was laughing during that montage a minute ago because CNN was saying, with $880 billion in Medicaid cuts, and the guy on the screen was nodding, the Chiron said, Mike Johnson promises not to cut Medicaid.
I know.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
The Chiron guy is one of us, I guess?
So again, where the can someone tell me, have the fact checkers fact checked this? That is the definition of fake news, right? Misinformation. It's misinformation that could actively harm people and this country, not to mention sow division. So the bill, which does not mention Medicaid anywhere, requires about $880 billion in savings over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one could argue that some of those savings may come from examining fraud, which we know takes place in Medicaid. How do we know? Well, CNBC, they released an article. I don't know who they were citing, references in the description. 50 billion Medicaid fraud. It's about $100 billion between Medicaid and Medicare. Let's call it 50 billion. Hey, is that gutting Medicaid?
Over 10 years, that's $500 billion of the $880 billion they're looking for.
Yeah.
Come on.
Keep in mind, every single year, $220 to $530 billion in fraud. Every single year. That's not misuse. That's not bloat. That's not, we don't even know where it goes. Gone. Up to $500 billion a year. And the left is screeching about this like it's a violation of civil rights. Now, there could be, and there should be, separate from this bill, reforms to Medicaid.
Yes.
There needs to be. So, for example, what's been proposed? Work requirements. Closing some loopholes that are state specific, because you have Medicaid, right? It's both a federal and kind of state issue. They have different parameters. And Medicaid is not Medicare. Medicaid, when you think someone who's disabled, someone who is unable to work, you may think elderly, though that's more Medicare. Still, that's probably what you think. These are not the primary beneficiaries of Medicaid now.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, on the state level, there's actually some pilot programs out there with states doing this and saving a lot of money by, instead of having a federal one-size-fits-all, they could save approximately $700 billion to $1 trillion by doing that.
Yep.
There's debate about it, but that's one of the ways you get it more efficient. Hey, states' rights, there we go.
I would like to see reform in this bill.
Yes.
For Medicaid, but it's not there.
Oh.
Just to be clear, here's another truth. Medicaid is really just a form of wealth redistribution. That's why Bernie Sanders wanted Medicaid for all. You have 96 million people on Medicaid. 96 million people. Okay, now if you look at those demographics, and this does matter, white Americans make up close to 60% of the population. Medicaid, they're about 43% of Medicaid beneficiaries. Hispanic, 19% of the population. Right, they make up about 28% of Medicaid. Black Americans, 12% of the population, 21% of Medicaid. If I were to tell you that one racial minority, makes up a smaller percentage of Medicaid than the general population, you're right, it's Asians.
They are consistent.
Yes.
They're consistent folk.
And that includes Pacific Islanders, so I guarantee you that's warped even a little bit more. They make up about 5.8% of the population, 5.5% of Medicaid. That's just one demo. We'll get to the age. We'll get to disability. Here's another truth. And the left thinks this is wrong. Able-bodied people of working age in the United States of America can comment. Do you agree with this? This is a statement. Able-bodied Americans of working age should work.
Yeah.
Huh?
Breaking news.
Isn't that crazy? If you believe that, or mostly believe it, you believe there needs to be reform. There we go. So, according to the left, this comes from a leftist article, link in the description, imposing a work requirement for able-bodied adults would remove 36 million beneficiaries from Medicaid.
That's like a third.
I'll read you, and this is the gross human rights violation they talk about. This proposal, the proposal work requirement, would cut Medicaid by taking coverage away from people who don't meet unnecessary and burdensome work requirements. And they go on to say who are unable to navigate complex verification systems. In other words, this will take 30-something million people off Medicaid who don't know how to put together a cover letter and resume.
Burdensome work That's what I was requirements. just thinking.
Unnecessary
Burdensome.
and burdensome. Yes, working is burdensome. It's called work.
Yeah, so is providing for yourself.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
You know what's burdensome for me? Providing for you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm working over here.
I've been up since 2:30 this morning. This morning feels a little burdensome. I fell asleep on the couch too early, and then I woke up too early, and it just messes up your sleep cycle. Yeah, I just kind of went with it, but it was a bad idea. I thought I could get a nap in. Mistake. That never happens. By the way, 27% of Medicaid beneficiaries are unemployed due to disability or some kind of illness. Only 27%. And by the way, there's a lot of fraud there. You know anyone who collects disability who kind of just like, they go, oh wait, does the guy follow me? Does he have a telescopic lens over there? All right, give me my crutch. And he kind of does a little Blackbeard hop, right? We all know those people.
For sure, but that's only 27%.
It's still only 27%.
Like, even if you go, okay, fine, you guys, no fraud there at all. I'll admit that, sure. Even then, that's so many people who are able-bodied.
Yes, exactly. And the left will always do this with abortion. They'll try and give you a story. It's like, well, what about someone who has no arms and legs and is deaf, mute, and unable to work? You just want to leave them on the... So they tug on your heartstrings.
Hold on.
But that's not representative of Medicaid.
MC Baba's got a career.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yeah, come on. He's not letting his disabilities hold him back. Come on now.
Work.
Helen Keller had a career.
Yeah, if they're retarded, send them to the FAA. They're hiring.
My brother has Down syndrome. He has held many jobs.
Yes.
He doesn't work well with others sometimes, so he's got to go through job to job. But
he's a greeter at Walmart.
No, the dude can shred papers and file stuff.
Yeah.
He's got skills, man.
I tell you what, they need someone like him at the FBI. I can shred the papers. Please do.
They should call me Shredder. Spirit Airlines. He'll sort some stuff out.
Yeah, like sure, we're a nation that helps the most vulnerable among us. I understand that and gives them an opportunity but it's an opportunity to get back into the bloodstream, to start providing for yourself. That is not what Medicaid is. That is not what our entitlement programs are. And again, I need to be clear, it is nowhere in this bill, but it should be. Here's another truth. Obamacare expanded Medicaid eligibility to basically the point of breaking it. So it's not like this is a tradition. People will say Social Security, it's been around. Well, Medicaid has been around. Well, Medicaid as it exists now is not the same. It's an abomination compared to what Medicaid was meant to be. Again, if you create something and then entirely change the parameters, I think we should have a law. You need to rename it.
Yes.
Especially if, like, once the budget doubles, it needs a new name so people don't think it's Medicaid anymore.
Transparent.
Yeah, just
Mooch Care.
Yes, exactly. Yes, Mooch Care. Yes.
Thanks, Obama.
United Mooch Care.
Obama.
Okay. So Barack Obama increased the income eligibility threshold, meaning they said, okay, you have to be below poverty. Here's the line. They increased it to 138% of what used to be the federal poverty level.
Wow.
So before, states could decide and say, okay, if you are below this income level, you're entitled to Medicaid, we'll help you out. So what happened with this is it massively increased the number of people who are enrolled in Medicaid. You know, you pay for them, it's your money, taxpayer, so you should decide. 21 million new people, or 22% of all beneficiaries.
Jeez.
Think about that. They also ended state-conducted asset tests for eligibility, and what that means is that Medicaid only looks at basic income, not assets like owning property, if someone has actually accrued wealth, so it makes it far easier. In other words, you can make more income than you used to make, and you still qualify. You can own a house, you can have investment, that's fine. You still get taxpayer dollars.
So you can have rich parents get, inherit a house, cars, wealth, and not work, and then just collect free Medicaid. Oh,
and one can argue that that creates more opportunity for fraud. Which how much? Oh, that's right, $230 to $500 billion a year in fraud. That's not waste. That's not overspending. That's not bloat. That's vapor. We have no idea where $500 billion a year goes, and we can't cut Twizzlers from Snap.
Make your own.
So this is what they do. You know what it is? Doge is very popular right now.
Yeah.
People are going, oh my gosh. Yeah. And you know what? The left knows that you can't turn this back. They know that if the American public, that's what they did about mistrust in institutions. They know that if the American public says, well, hold on a second, yeah, that does seem really wasteful. I do think that we need to be scaling this back. Yeah, I do think that we need to go in and start auditing. They know that once that happens, there's going to be a window of probably 2 decades where Americans, their set point, and your set point, rightfully so, will be mistrust of the government because you saw it. And so right now they're throwing up every single defense, increasingly dishonest ones, to try and stop you from looking. They're really scared at anyone looking. And there are quite a few reasons.
I can't even believe that we're not going to ask people to work. I cannot believe that a third of this could go away if people would just work. And I can't believe that they're so scared about the poverty level. You said 138% of it. Do you know why they did that? Instead of just raising the poverty level to meet it so that they could do that, they said, no, $27,000 a year for a family of 3. That's not much, right? Right. That's really low. But if we raise it and just keep Medicare at the poverty level number, then that'll mean that there's more poor people on our watch than the American people might be. It's math. These people don't care about you. They care about optics.
Yeah.
That is all they care about.
Yes.
I worked at a comedy club in Kentucky, and there was a security guy, a door guy, that was like, he was disabled in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And now I'm just thinking, like, how do you look at that guy?
Right.
And go, that's too hard.
Yeah.
I know.
That's too hard for me. I think I'll let him do the heavy lifting and pay for my Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
Listen,
you know, I qualify.
I think they're real.
You know that I qualify for disability.
You probably
people with rheumatoid arthritis and
I think a lot of people.
Yeah,
I'm saying that guy could have easily just not worked,
Mm-hmm.
No,
and I would be fine with that.
Yeah.
He's disabled, I get it, but he's like, no, I'm gonna go work. I'm gonna make my own money.
Yeah.
And he's subsidizing your lazy ass who sent it.
Well, Stephen has gigantiscus, which definitely qualifies.
I do.
Is that what it's called?
Disability. Yes. It's a condition. Elephantitis of the balls is a close cousin.
I prefer Praetorian glutes.
You could have had a big or a big butt. You get the butt. Sorry.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
It
would have been.
Thanks for pointing it out.
Sorry.
It points itself out, to be honest.
Yeah, you don't have to rest a glass on it. No. It's like a shelf. No, I was notified. You know, you can qualify for disability. I'm like, really? Oh, wow. So then most of those people must be pussies. Now,
A little bit.
this is also why they don't want you to look. And we'll see what happens with Epstein, too. We'll get to that. But they don't want you to look because the Doge audit has revealed things that we expected.
Yeah.
But quite a few things that we did not expect. This time it involves a $17 million puppet show. And the worst part is, this time it's not even Iraqi.
So Norm Eisen, he runs an NGO called State United Democracies Center. State United Democracy Center. Now that NGO accepts $17 million in private donation. So I was researching. What do they do? Like with $17 million? I started researching, but the only thing I could find, and I wasn't digging, but the only thing that I found, so they made a knockoff Muppet show. All those famous people at the NGO, and the only thing they did was $17 million was make a terrible Muppet show.
I know that sign. I know what that sign was.
Yeah,
she censored her.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? People should not censor the deaf.
No, they shouldn't.
No.
We come on, check your
She said what she said.
your hearing privilege.
They can censor the
Sign.
sign language.
No.
They're censored.
By the way, anyone else notice that her sign interpreter was quite cleavagey?
I did.
No,
notice.
I did not.
Yes. Yeah. She's wearing a. You know, that's a good move if you want to distract people from your deafness.
Yeah, they're deaf, not blind. Come on, lady.
You just bring in your signer.
Swing.
Yeah. she can be making stuff up. That deaf lady may not even sign, and no one would know because they're going, yeah. What'd she say? I don't know. You complete me or some shit. So, that was actually Data Republican, who's done a lot of great work. One of Doge's researchers, and heart goes out to her because she was actually doxxed by a leftist just a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And that's got to suck because she'll never hear him coming. And 17 million doesn't seem like a lot. I understand that when we're talking about 500 billion in fraud.
Hold on. I get it, but 17 million is a lot of dollars.
But then you add up a few million here for, again, puppets in Iraq. You add up a few million here for LGBTQ education in Serbia. You add it up, and I don't care about the number. I really don't. We have to start with, is this an appropriate use of government power? Does a puppet show to a nonprofit, does that fall under the legitimate purview of government? In other words, when people say, hey, we need to find some common ground, you have libertarians all the way on one side. Where they border on anarchy. Okay, and then you have, let's just say, Democrats. Let's say you have communism all the way over here. All right, where do we fall in finding common ground if we're conservative, libertarian, populists, Republican, traditional, with an entire political wing that thinks it's a crime against humanity to examine, audit, and eliminate a $17 million puppet show? Where are we going to find common ground? You think we're going to find common ground on a work requirement for Medicaid? You didn't want to get rid of the puppet show. And just so you know how crappy a puppet show is when it costs $17 million going through a government entity and then an NGO and a nonprofit. I know you're wondering, how bad is this puppet show?
It's got to be bad, right?
Here, this bad.
How does Michigan make sure elections are safe, secure, and accurate? This entire certification process
17 million.
is overseen by the Michigan Board of State Canvassers. Every cast ballot is secured, tracked, and put under strict chain of custody rules. In Pennsylvania, bipartisan poll watchers
17 million.
Parties oversee the ballot counting process.
$17 million.
We've done better.
By the way, just so you know, about 147 subscribers on YouTube. 147 subscribers.
Who are those people?
Literally.
What's the ad share on that?
Yeah. What's the monetization?
Tens of views. Your tax dollars at work. $17 million.
Well, the puppets were made out of human hairs.
Yes, they were. And they were humans who had to be harvested. They didn't create it in a lab.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, right next to Elon Musk's next babies. Now,
Ashley?
Hey, she's not a lab.
This is well, actually, we do have a direct contrast, apples to apples. To show you how ridiculous $17 million is for a puppet show, we have actually done quite a few installments that involve puppets. We do not have $17 million for each singular puppet show, and we pretty much have done it in our spare time. Less money.
Hi, I'm Josh Firestein.
And I'm PJ, and we're here to share today's What Word of the Day!
That's right, and today's word is a really fun word. It's trigger warning.
Trigger warning?
Yeah, trigger warning is like when you're hanging out with your buddies or your friends out in the field, and you're all hanging out, about to get your stuff done, then someone goes, "Range up! Weapons up!"
What the fuck? The fuck?
That's what you say, that's
Are you
trigger.
trying to blow out my eardrums?
No, just letting you know.
The fuck's wrong with you? Fucking cockhead.
Crackhead.
Suck my dick.
I wouldn't pay $17 million for it, but I'd pay the price of admission.
You get tens of views on it.
we could get more than 147 subscribers.
Just from that.
Just like that.
I mean, right now, more people have seen it than all of the other $17 million puppet shows combined.
I found out this morning that I wasn't supposed to actually suck him.
Yes, well, I know, yeah.
You're coughing up fur balls for
Yeah,
a
he's
week.
coughing felt for...
Really quickly, I want to go back. You mentioned that this person was doxxed. So apparently, doxxed. Sorry.
Yeah, doxxed.
Apparently, the New York Times felt that it was necessary to publish the names and faces of 45 of the Doge employees.
Mm-hmm.
It's necessary. It's something that the American people need to see. As much hatred and vitriol that's being pushed at these people who, by God, are just doing an audit and going in there and seeing where waste, fraud, abuse, and you not working when you're supposed to be working from home. They thought, well, yeah, the American people need to know the names and the faces of these individuals, and so we're the paper of record, I guess.
Yeah, the left is evil. The left is evil.
Do something with this.
I think it was today that they did that. I think it was today.
They're angry at the people who are saying, hey, yeah, we ran the numbers, it seems like there's fraud there. They're angry at those people and not the people who've engaged in fraud. Yes, the left is evil. No common ground.
Let's chat about
I'm sorry, this is not
what you
Republican,
like to do
Democrat,
in
it's
your
evil.
free
Comment
time
below if that's where you are.
What I like to do in
And
my
I believe that these people deserve no quarter. We're actually going to lay out some parameters because of people like Jake Tapper. He inspired it. You have a lot of Johnny-come-latelys who now find they try and get themselves into the fold with conservatives. Okay, you have to publicly apologize completely, and you have to list the damage that you have done. There has to be some kind of restitution for it, and you have to tell us why you have changed. There needs to be no quarter for anyone who was engaged in the agreed-upon lies that we have had to live through. The agreed-upon lie that was COVID, and that we had to lock down,
Cuomo,
and that we had to shut down businesses, and the mRNA injection. The agreed-upon lie of the election. The agreed-upon lie that men and women aren't a thing anymore. The agreed-upon lie that government is out to serve you. The agreed-upon lie that you need to trust your institutions. The agreed-upon lie that any mistrust is actually a conspiracy theory. The agreed-upon lie that media is unbiased. Anyone who has taken part in these giant agreed-upon lies, it's not a conspiracy theory, it's not even a conspiracy. We have lived through agreed-upon lies. There needs to be no mercy, no quarter, and no forgetting what they put you through. They're evil. That's my report, Captain. Yes, Gerald.
No, I was going to say, Jake Tapper, what he needs to do is all the things that you said, and in the book that he is apparently co-authoring, there needs to be a chapter on what he did to cover up Biden's mental decline.
Yeah.
You cannot be a person who's involved in the cover-up and then write a book as though you just discovered it.
Right. I'm going to get to the States United Democracy Center, but by the way, if you're watching right now, download the Rumble app. That's the best way to stay in touch. You only get notifications when we are live.
Yes.
And you can get it on your TV. It's seamless. Rumble, we own live. YouTube is dead. Right now, they are talking about Doge, and they said that the EPA could be looking at 65% in cuts. I'm just willing to bet by the haircut, left. Let's see.
The Clean Water Act and the Safe Drinking Water Act. We do what Congress dictates by law that we need to do, and EPA is an
Studying
implementing
issues.
agency
They list.
to protect all of us. That's the important thing to remember. So
It's
while we can talk about how
government
many
bloat personified. I've dealt with the EPA.
Well, no. But they make sure that water works fine, right, Flint?
That's fine, right? Yeah. So that seems like a noble thing, and that's how they package this stuff. I've dealt with these people intimately at the county and the state and even the township level up in Ohio.
Yeah.
It is a nightmare. Yep. Not only is it a nightmare, it's a system that's gamed all the time. You've created an entire black market for people to get around EPA regulations because they're stupid, they're onerous, and the people that have those jobs don't even know the code. I've had to tell them and their lawyers, here's the code.
Right.
Show me the part where you're talking about, and they couldn't do it.
Right. It's always the same thing. We exist to serve. We exist to protect. We exist to help the American. Really? Okay. Well, just ask one follow-up, CNN. So, where do you think the $500 billion a year in fraud is taking place? Ask them that. Not one will answer. Let's go back to my old high school gym teacher.
sit down with
I do like the Bose headphones, though.
look at opportunities to
She's doing fine.
where those efforts are not as important as others. I'm not suggesting that EPA is perfect, but what I am suggesting is that there needs to be a thoughtful process to recognize what is the EPA, what is our task to do, and
What is
how do we
sunshine?
deliver that task in the most cost-effective
What do you do here?
And
You know what? That's a good question. What were you doing for the last 55 years? EPA created, I know Nixon, was it 1970, somewhere in the early 70s? What were you doing for over 50 years? You only have a problem, and by the way, no one's saying completely eliminate, you're saying you may face 65% in cuts. It's not perfect. Hey, we think it's about 65% imperfect.
Yes. By the way, she was climate advisor to Biden.
Oh, wonderful.
So I guess I understand where she lines up on stuff.
Yeah, I can
She's
imagine.
not just like, hey, let's make sure we manage these resources well. She's like,
It's an existential threat! Well, here's the thing. Watch her right now.
Who, Mrs. Magoo?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Everything goes wrong around her. She's just driving her car. Everyone else is burning alive, getting Final Destination. Mosey and unknown. Wiggly, wiggly.
Must be in the environment.
Must be that climate change. She's the kind of person who would like Uber in her off time and hotbox the car right before you. Okay.
That's disgusting.
So
She doesn't go outside and look at her.
yeah, this is a perfect tie-in to the States United Democracy Center, that puppet show. Okay, because you'll see what happens. They try and fend everyone off before you get in an audit something. So the States United Democracy Center is a nonprofit. Right? It's dedicated to election monitoring and, quote, promoting truth in elections. So the SUDC receives almost 100% of their funding from donations, but the donors are listed as restricted on the IRS filings. So the IRS, they know the donors, you don't. Let me give you some of the leaders here when we're talking about a $17 million puppet show, and if these leaders or board members should know better. You have ex-New Jersey Governor Christy Todd Whitman. You have ex-RNC Chairman Michael What Up Steele. You have former Bush administration official Tom Ridge, former Obama administration official Janet Napolitano, and its director. You see what's going on CNN right now. Okay, this person out there talking about the EPA, right? And they just seem like someone who might be objective. The director of this NGO is a lawyer named Norm Eisen. So $17 million puppet show from this organization. The director is lawyer Norm Eisen. Now you might be saying, hey, that name sounds familiar. Well, you may recognize this person who in no way has a vested interest in continuing government fraud.
We've gone to court again and again at State Democracy Defenders Fund, filing the very first lawsuit saying Doge was illegal. What you're seeing is a shock and awe assault on the foundations of our democracy with all of these unconstitutional and illegal actions. There was an attempted shock and awe campaign by Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Doge to take over the government and bend it to their will.
So this guy goes out and says, no, auditing is criminal. This is un-American. Why would you want to audit 17 million public? Yeah, greenlit. That's what this guy is doing. Mm-hmm. This organization, okay, $17.5 million in revenue in 2023. All references available. Okay, $11 million in expenses that include $2 million in compensation to the board, the people who we just mentioned, $5 million in other salaries, wages, $1 million in legal and accounting fees. This is the cycle. You have someone like Norm Eisen, you entrench yourself in the government. Right? He's worked with Obama. He was co-counsel in the Trump impeachment. You can look at his history. Yeah. Entrench yourself in the government. Be a founder of some bogus nonprofit. Use it to funnel money. Then stop any type of investigation. Doge tries to investigate the fraud. So this man uses the funds and influence that he basically accrued through the fraud to try and block and shut down Doge investigations. At what point do people need to be hauled out in cuffs? That's a genuine question. Yeah. Comment below. At what point do these people get fitted for an orange jumpsuit? I'm not convinced that this $17 million puppet show creating organization is not, I'm not convinced it's not a terrorist front. And neither, by the way, is even former President George W. Bush, who's doing more in retirement than these assholes.
We must stop the terror. I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Now, where is that Waldo caricature?
I hope he finds him.
Absolutely.
It's exceedingly difficult if he's in the candy cane forest.
Well, we didn't find Bin Laden, but my hopes are high.
Yes.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
Where are you, little prick? All right.
By the way, so we just launched the Trump collection on crowdershop.com. Go to crowdershop.com right now. Order by March 7th, and you'll get it before St. Patrick's Day. This is one of the coolest. I wore a version of this to the national championship game. Don't say anything. And I got stopped like 10 times for people who didn't even know the show. They just thought it was a really cool shirt. So grab yourself one of these. It's the Fight Like Hell version that we just did.
Yeah.
And you get $6 off any order with promo code IRISH. Go, and you don't have to be a Notre Dame fan, but it helps. This is a Trump fan, and you know, when you go get sauced on St. Patrick's Day, drink responsibly.
Least effective fighting stance ever.
It's not true. It's a dancing.
Great match.
I've been eating those words so long.
Well, right after you break me wrists in me completely unbalanced, powerless stance.
Hold on, let me get drunk.
That's right. That's actually how I came up with the stance. I was drunk. Right. I thought, what's the best way to position my hands so they can't protect my face and they're not ready to throw a punch of their own?
No. You're drinking, not fighting. Drinking.
Oh, okay.
Drinking.
That still doesn't make sense.
I'm more of a kicker.
I tell you what, though, it's not as dumb as an entire country of people, Canada. So, it's okay. I can say it because I'm half Canadian. I was raised there, to be clear. I was born in the States. My mom is French-Canadian. I was raised there. And I know a lot of you are thinking, hey, do you have, like, is there any part of you that's proud of being Canadian? No. Not even a little bit. There's no part of me that is proud
that's awesome.
to be half a nation that keeps the Queen on its money.
I mean, it's hard to reprint money, I guess.
So, and we've talked about this, we've joked about Canada, but seriously, Canada shouldn't exist. I mean that. Canada really shouldn't exist as a country. It's a disreputable place. It's a place right now that has become unworthy of respect. And I think that there needs to be some reform, namely a 51st state. So, yesterday, and I watched all of this from pillar to post. That's maybe also why I didn't sleep. This happened last night. Former Justin Trudeau lieutenant, her name is Chrystia Freeland. It's kind of like a primary in Canada for those seeking control of the Liberal Party when Trudeau steps down. And so we're going to show you some clips, and some of it is surprisingly alarming. But again, this lady seems like she's the front runner because she worked with Trudeau. Here's an introduction. I'm sorry, right clip. Here's the other clip.
And welcome to the special coverage of tonight's Liberal leadership debate. I'm David Cochrane in Ottawa, and in just 15 minutes, candidates vying to become Liberal leader and very likely Canada's next Prime Minister will face off in the second and final debate. There are four candidates: Frank Baylis, Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, and Karina Gould. They are set to take the stage in Montreal. Tonight, they debate in English. Last night, they debated in French.
What we will see, though, is because they're all speaking in their mother tongue in English, we'll see much more comfortable people, much more confident people, and people that can speak really, powerfully about their policy ideas. So I think that's a given. It will be a better debate.
Now, remember, this lady who seems she's poised to seize control of the Liberal Party there in Canada, Freeland, in 2022, gleefully doubled down on freezing the truckers, the protesters' bank accounts. Here's what authoritarianism looks like.
Okay, so my follow-up is in two parts then. So you're confirming that accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate, but you're not releasing the information?
The names of both individuals and entities, as well as crypto wallets, have been shared by the RCMP with financial institutions. And accounts have been frozen, and more accounts will be frozen.
How was this not revolution in Canada?
It's a subservient people. It's a submissive, subservient
Because
people.
you were protesting, you froze bank accounts, you got rid of GoFundMe accounts, and you went after crypto wallets. The one thing that's supposed to be independent of all of this.
Hey, you don't like that the United States is a nation of guns? That's why.
Yep.
If you're not a nation of guns, you become a nation where the government brags about freezing your accounts and assets for the wrong opinion. And you don't even need to go to Venezuela.
You parked your truck somewhere and you're like, well, guess you're not going to eat.
And in watching this, it really was emblematic of kind of the rest of the world and the tariffs and where we find ourselves as Americans. It was a bunch of Canadians trying to justify the existence of a country that would never exist at any point in history if not for the United States. And it made me, if anything, emboldened. It undergirded the idea that the United States not only doesn't need Canada, but until Canada starts sharing our values and until they start taking our best interests into consideration, Canada needs to be punished. And not just because they borderline threatened to use nukes. It's time for no Canada. All right. Here's the first claim you heard in this debate. That President Trump, this is what they're saying in Canada, is Canada's greatest challenge.
A few weeks ago in Saskatoon, I met a 4-year-old girl named Ari. She asked me, can you stop Trump from invading Canada? Ari is a smart girl, and she's asking the right question.
You can't.
I'm running as the leader of the Liberal Party and the next Prime Minister of Canada because Trump is posing the gravest challenge our country has faced since the Second World War.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, she's a feminist who deals in hyperbole. That statement, by the way, was made immediately before she was backhanded by a red-pilled moose. And that was, yeah. Tate traveled quickly. Yeah, I love Tate moose.
Tate traveled quickly.
Here's the truth, okay? Canada has had way graver challenges than Donald Trump. And I want you to just, just take a bird's eye view here. So since World War II, right, you had the Quebec separatist crisis, you had the biker wars that took place in the 1990s, you had the terror bombing that had taken place, I believe, in somewhere in the 1980s, also not winning any Stanley Cup since 1993. But more importantly, the gravest challenges that Canada has faced, that's since World War II, but you can include World War II, you can include any global conflict. As a matter of fact, any global conflict, shortage, pandemic, catastrophe, or emergency is an extinction-level threat for Canada every single time, if not for the United States. That's your gravest challenge, Canada. Historians will look back on Canada and they'll say, well, how did this exist? The top 1 or 2 biggest countries as far as landmass and no way to defend it? They must not have had any desirable resources, right? Oh, they did? Rich in natural resources? What? How close in proximity to, if Russia came across, the United States. Oh, that makes sense. Nowhere else would a nation like Canada still exist. It would be conquered, and they would be speaking, whatever. It could be, take the Mongols, take the Ottomans, they should be speaking American. They still speak French. That's where it's silly. It's a goofy, silly place. And by the way, now Canada, even today, is still facing far worse challenges than Donald Trump, but they believe their job is virtue signaling. The real challenges that Canada faces, a tanking economy. Canada would be the 4th poorest state in the United States. Jeez. They have a housing crisis. Canada is short by about 3.5 million housing units. Ooh. Their population is 1/10 the size of the United States. Yeah. They have an immigration disaster, despite what they will tell you. Even Trudeau, Prime Minister Trudeau, had to reverse course because of how bad immigration has become. I'm sorry, right clip. Here's the other one.
Immigration. Let's talk about it. In the last 2 years, our population has grown really fast, like baby boom fast. Increasingly, bad actors like fake colleges and big chain corporations have been exploiting our immigration system for their own interests. So we're doing something major. We're reducing the numbers of immigrants that will come to Canada for the next 3 years. Today, I'm going to let you in on what happened, where we made some mistakes, and why we're taking this big turn.
How many takes do you think they had to do because they kept saying, "I'm going to let you in on me"?
Oh, at least 3.
At least. We just have to admonish you. Actually, that's not former prime minister. It's a governor.
Oh,
this comes directly from the White House, and so we have to respect the office.
Sorry, respect the office. You can admonish me.
Yes.
And he's not
Governor
That's
Trudeau.
right. He's not former. Well, he's the former leader of the Liberal Party.
Governor.
It's a transition period. Okay, fine.
Governor.
Fine. I'll take it. So, Canada faces many grave dangers, many grave challenges. Namely, all of them if they don't have the help of the United States. And they face far worse internal crises right now. Why is that not the focus? Because the left, just like Amy Klobuchar listing her 5 accomplished tasks last week, including standing up to Russia, they believe their profession is largely centered around virtue signaling. And their virtue signaling is largely centered around hating you. Got it? They're evil. Here's another claim that certainly sounded alarm bells for me, that Canada will form a nuclear-powered alliance specifically to counter the United States. Doesn't sound like a good neighbor.
What is different about this unleashed and empowered President Trump is he is clearly threatening our sovereignty.
You have no
and
sovereignty.
We need to respond. And so what Canada needs to do is work closely with our democratic allies, our military allies.
And be someone
I've
else.
been foreign minister. I know how to do that. That's why I would start with our Nordic partners, specifically Denmark, which is also being threatened, and our European NATO allies. I would be sure that France and Britain were there, who possess nuclear weapons, and I would be working urgently with those partners to build a closer security relationship that guarantees our security in a time when the United States can be a threat.
It's
them sounds like fighting words to me.
Sounds like a single mom looking for a new baby daddy.
Yeah, exactly. That the United States.
Stepdad.
By the way, this is the problem with feminism permeates everything. Do you have any idea how far into her phrase she would have begun before Genghis Khan would have raped her? Do you understand? It's like people go up there and talk tough from a country, by the way, that has no nukes. Do you have any idea what it's like to deal with barbarian? And by the way, not pro-rape. What I'm saying is, have you looked at actual empires? You know, the kinds of nations that the United States isn't, who would look at your country as nothing more than an opportunity. All this talking tough, and I'm a strong, independent, goes out the window when you are dealing with a monster. You know who knows how to deal with a monster? Someone like Donald Trump. Not you, because you think that you're threatened by the United States nukes. What do you think, we're going to nuke Canada? Here's the truth. It wouldn't work anyway, sweetheart. The United States military would outmatch all of the countries that you mentioned combined. Let's look at just the number of nukes to start. The United States has well over 5,200. France, the next closest on the list of the countries she mentioned, 290. UK, 225. She mentioned Denmark, 0. And they want to ally with Canada, also 0.
By the way, you're trying to turn one of our friends against us with the UK?
Yeah.
It's one of our strongest allies?
Let's look at the next important piece. Aircraft carriers. The United States has 11. UK, 2. France, distant third, 1. Denmark, again, 0. Canada, again, 0.
Oh, they got some snowmobiles, though.
Yeah, Denmark.
That's good for something.
I don't know if these people in Canada believe it, but even if they did, hey, there's nothing you can do. Let's look at the active military personnel. The United States, 1.3 million people. France, next on 380,000. UK, 148,000. Denmark, 16,000. Canada, 107,000. 107,000. So let me do some math. This is why I say Canada is a very silly place. And I know a lot of you may be Canadian right now. Sound up. This is not insulting you, the Canadian citizen. It is your government. But yeah, you know what? You need to do something about your country. We had a revolution. You keep the Queen on your money. Canada has no sovereignty. You have the Queen on your money because you didn't have the revolution that we did, and you exist because we allow you to exist. Okay? Let's look at the number of troops right there, right? I just gave it to you. It's about 107,000 in Canada. Let's average it out per square mile. So in the United States, you have about one active military member. It's about the ratio, let me know, we did the math, is 0.359. Okay, 0.359 when you're talking about troops per square mile. Canada, 0.027. That means the United States has 13 times more troops per square mile. Do you understand that? Here's the thing. There have been nations that are very small and inconsequential, and they haven't been conquered. And there have been nations that are relatively large, but they haven't been conquered because they have a strong military or they don't really have a bunch of desirable resources. There has never been a nation as large as Canada, physically, as desirable, that has not been conquered and is completely unprotected. Canada is the least defended modern country ever. Ever. And they want to talk tough. It's delusional. And here's something, we're going to get to the trade deficit too. If you watch this debate, you can copy paste it to anywhere else in the world. They have no cards to play. Just like the left doesn't have any cards to play. It's all bluster. The rest of the world right now is a toddler screaming before bedtime. But they're going to be put down. Figuratively, I'm not talking about nuking any place.
Like she was potentially. By the way, if you're talking tough and you're talking about forming an alliance, why would you start with Denmark? Right, 17,000 troops, no carriers, no nukes. You're basically bringing on another liability.
She's trying to lump people in to what she is thinking as a victim. Like, oh,
no, I know.
Threatening Denmark. We didn't threaten
Put them
Denmark.
on the list. Put them at the bottom
of the list.
Put them at the bottom of the list and put France at the top. Can you imagine France is the top of your strong pulled list?
Right. Well, here's the other thing too. They're talking about okay, all right. Canada's not a good neighbor. Let me be clear to you about this. They're trying to say, I can't believe that Donald Trump would treat us this way when we are their most reliable neighbor. No. No, you're not. You're the kind of neighbor who just leaf blows into my yard and you know full well what you do.
Also, we have only two.
Yes.
We have only two, and the other one is having a siesta.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
The cartels could take out the Canada military.
Let me show you how bad of a neighbor Canada is. And by the way, this includes, this can be extended to pretty much the rest of the world. That's why we're fed up. Canada then starts discussing in this debate, and I believe that Trudeau also echoed this, that, you know what, we're a good neighbor. We're going to honor the contract of NATO and hit our target spending really soon.
Canada fully expects to reach NATO's 2% of GDP spending target by 2032.
Okay, so we're looking 2032? So you mean, you mean in almost a decade, you're going to start honoring the contract that always required you to do it? That's a good neighbor?
It takes time to get there.
And we have this clip somewhere, the euthanization clip. Do you have it regarding the Canadian military? Even if Canada was going to finally start...
It's an overlay.
It's an overlay?
Yeah.
Canada, by the way, they value their military so much that they would sooner euthanize troops, euthanize veterans, rather than pay for their care. We have an overlay... Oh, yeah, it's overlay A10 euthanize. That's part of their program there because they're loving and
the
caring.
MAID program, do you remember that? Medically assisted?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know the rest of it, but either way, it's they kill you.
it's insane. No. Let's not give them therapy. You know, let's not give them medicine.
Yeah.
Let's just kill them.
Yeah.
I think medically assisted induced death.
Right.
Induced.
Yeah. The old suicide box.
Why do it have to be made like taking?
Well, enough veterans are killing themselves. Why don't we just do it ourselves?
Yeah. You know, that'll buy us some time as we hit our agreed upon contract of military spending by 2032.
I was wrong. It's medical assistance in dying.
There we go. We did have a video like when we covered the MAID program when they rolled that out now, like a year ago or something like that, or when they it was a vet who needed a wheelchair, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, they got the form that said I need a wheelchair, and they said, have you considered killing yourself?
Yep. It's a brochure.
It's a whole problem. You got sometimes there's no ramps.
Yeah.
You gotta build your arm strength up, and you gotta get a special car. It sucks. Just die.
Yep. And they can't take them to fireworks.
Yeah.
We don't have wheelchairs, sorry.
Let me change
All out.
And this is what Donald Trump has been pointing out with trade and with deficits in the United States being exploited. And I know it's really hard for people to understand that the United States has been exploited when we're, the wealthiest country in existence and the most powerful country in existence. So you kind of look past that, and the left always views champion as bad and underdog as good. That's why they support places like Palestine. That's why they support LGBT no matter what, regardless of morality, even when they start beating up women. That's how they view the world. Well, if you have less, you must be in the moral right. Okay. The United States has been exploited. Let me pause something here. Imagine if, instead of having never hit their agreed upon NATO spending, and the United States often hitting double, imagine if we lived in a world where Canada actually honored their agreements, like good neighbors. Think they still have the budget for socialized healthcare? Think they still have the budget for socialized media, the CBC, government propaganda media? Think a lot of those niceties that they have, they brag about how Canada takes care of their citizens more than they think that goes away. Let's take this. That happens, and then there's a global conflict where Canada has to defend itself. How much free crap do you think they can give their citizens? You remember the war effort, right? In World War II? We had to do that here in the United States. We had to ration coffee, for crying out loud. Just remember that when you have a socialist here say, why don't we do what other nations do, like Canada, like Sweden? Do they have to defend themselves? No? Well, then we're not going to allow them to exploit us economically while we pay for their defenses. Here's another claim that they make, and more proof that they are done. I will hoist this fascist flag. Oh, would you like me to pop your car? Let's try. I can go to the restroom really bad. One more thing.
I want to thank you all. However, only 2 companies have been selected.
Rewind that. It's clearly green screen, which means like he was too tired to do the shooting that day. So they're just like, just put him on a green screen. Like everything else is practical, and they just put him in front of a green screen.
His acting is just taking a sip.
Yeah, he's taking a sip, and they just People are not extinct. Italian, are you Native American, are you Jewish, or are you half black? He's claimed all of them.
Is he Jamaican as well?
Yeah.
Oh, Steven, he's running over a puppy again.
Yeah.
Seagal.
Yeah, that's right. Remember, he killed a. He killed him. Yeah, he rammed through people's north wall with a tank.
And ran
Because
over
they
a
had
dog.
chickens. Yeah, someone said that there was a cockfighting ring, and it was just someone had chickens in their backyard, and Steven Seagal ran through their house with a tank and killed their dog. And I think that's why he's no longer the star of Lawman.
So,
I love how Mike Tyson can punch so hard that it breaks a weight-bearing pillar there in that hill. He broke the actual.
Really?
Yeah, he broke.
Oh,
I
Lord.
don't know. Is it a pillar if it's a square? What do you call
It's
it?
a pillar, either way.
Okay, he broke that, but Steven Seagal can block it with.
You gotta give him credit because at least he was doing something.
Yeah,
Steven Seagal, all of his scenes were just standing there.
No, Mike Tyson has put in the effort. He
Except for the training on how to say fire and make it sound reasonable.
I would love to see him in like Red Hunt for Red October. Like, do we have enough torpedoes?
We have to sacrifice one member of the crew.
Yeah, he's punching through that, but Steven Seagal's like,
I can't even see that.
Yes.
Sorry, you say that. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty bad CGI too.
Yeah.
yes,
That's it. That would have shredded his arm, by the way.
One-
You could lead out.
one of the
like,
strongest punches of all time. But
And it doesn't fall down on his arm, it just
Yes.
stays there for a second and then, okay.
I was protected by.
Oh, hey, I have a note.
Uh-oh.
I have a note.
The point is, if Aikido worked, every single boxer would be using it. You can block like this, and you can push a punch out of the way and duck, but this, no.
Just get it.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
So apparently the whole movie, the movie, in the end, they achieve a ceasefire by hoisting the CCP flag, and apparently this is a Chinese propaganda movie produced by Chinese telecom companies.
Oh!
Crap.
Do we have a shot of them hoisting the flag?
We do.
Oh.
We have a shot. Maybe a little video of it. I don't
Do we
know.
have a video of them hoisting the...
Are you able to pull that in, or?
That's why she said the winner earns respect. Of course there's no money or any real value.
What was the country guys saying?
Honor is your reward.
What was the country guys? Was it Darfur? Something that's open, not Darfur, is something like that?
What are you talking about?
The country basically that's open for business or whatever it is.
Oh, that's what where they
I think
are?
it's an African country where they are, where they, Steven Seagal's drinking and, swatting flies.
I really don't like Steven Seagal. The crazy thing is he followed me back when it was Twitter.
Really?
Yeah, because he was trying to grift on conservatives for a while.
Yeah.
Remember that? Where he was like, he went up at CPAC or something. He said, I'm telling you, when the truth comes out about the Obama administration, people will go to jail. I'm telling you that. Like, what inside scoop do you have, you bloated son of a bitch? Nothing. You idiot. You fraud. Every single thing about that guy is fake. And you want to talk?
I told you.
Yes.
See, I told you back then.
There'd be a bullet in that gun. Oh, yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, when the Crow, Brandon Lee
Yeah.
died, they called me. And they said that was an accident. They said Brandon Lee is dead. They said he got shot. I said how? They said on set. And I said what kind of a gun? They said we were using blanks. I said mark my words. You will find that there was a projectile in that gun. Oh, if he was shot? Yeah. The next day they called me.
Tell us more.
They said, Master, you're amazing. His words. You were right. Oh, yeah, he saw a guy got shot, and he said it, there likely was a projectile involved. And then he showed up with a set of rust. Mark my words.
Like, we get it. Thanks.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Steven
okay,
Seagal.
Steven. Yeah.
It's just, if this is a thing, it's all, Hollywood is all fake. It's all fake. You have to understand, if the martial arts that you are applying defy physics, let me ask you this. What's heavier, okay? For example, the shin of a heavyweight kicking your head or 3 fingers, okay? Well, just think of the laws of inertia and motion, right? It doesn't work, but it's easy, it's more fun to sell you the myth.
I don't understand how no one's kicked his ass.
Oh, he's had his ass kicked.
Oh yeah,
He
sure.
got choked by Gene LaBelle and shit his pants.
Why do we not have that clip?
Yeah. Oh, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. He talked about Gene LaBelle, who also, by the way, likes to embellish. He was a stuntman. He was a judo champion. He did a lot of grappling. He was the guy who started at school where Ronda Rousey trained a lot of the Armenians. You know, not the best fighters, but legitimate fighters.
Yeah.
And he was on the set of, I feel like I've told it, but Under Siege. And Steven Seagal was bragging about how he couldn't be choked out. And he would be really rough with the stunt doubles. Like, he would break their arms and stuff.
What?
An asshole. And so, yeah, so Gene LaBelle couldn't stand him. He's like, yeah, he talks like this, just like he was, it's the only way we want to take it easy on, those stunt doubles, because they're actually out there protecting you, and, if they turn on you. And he started bragging about how no one could choke him out, and they'd never could be choked out. I said, I bet I could. And he said, no, you can't. So I went up to him and I asked if he was ready. And he was ready, so I put him in a rear naked choke. And he said he had a defense that no one could choke him. So I guess his defense was, he started grabbing me and the little sisters there. And I just squeezed a little harder. And he went out, and I guess he hadn't gone to the bathroom or...
Let's see what this dipshit's fucking video is about. PJJ didn't work.
I'm done spending an obscene amount of money on takeout. I'm just done.
I'm getting back on track with Factor Fresh.
Today, I'm entering a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament to prove that it doesn't work. Just prove my point. They say 90% of fights end up... Okay, me down. Push his hands away. Unfortunately, the weather is not great, and it looks like it might start raining. If that happens, my plan might not work. Unfortunately, I can't control the weather. All I can do is start to warm up and hope for the best. That's when they suddenly announce my name. It's finally time to see if Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu works when you don't play along. When the fight starts, my opponent immediately tries to grab my sleeves. All I want to do is push his hands away. That's when he does something I never imagined. He just lies down and tries to pull me on top of him. But of course, it doesn't work, because I just stand up. Now, my opponent grabs my lapel. So I try to strip his wrist off with both hands. But his grip is too good. That's when he tries to pull me down again. But I just pop back up and move away. I can sense that my opponent is getting frustrated because I refuse to go down to the ground with him. That's when he tries a new tactic. He goes for a foot sweep. I decide to return the favor, but he fails. But luckily, he just lies down anyway. This is when I realize that all my training has made me overqualified for this tournament because I'm never ending up on the ground. That's when the referee suddenly stops the action. Apparently, I've broken some kind of rule. He tells me that I'm not allowed to disengage. And if I don't start grappling, I'm gonna get disqualified. And now, my opponent refuses to even stand up. I doubt this is what the ancient samurai warriors had in mind when they invented jiu-jitsu. Because it was supposed to be used as a last resort when your weapons fail, and the last place you want to go on the battlefield is the ground. But something changed when the art spread to Brazil. It became a sport, and the essence was lost. This is the exact same thing that happened to karate. Today, you can even become an Olympic champion by getting knocked out. So now, I am left with no other choice but to finish the fight. It's time to put the martial back in martial arts. This was not part of the plan, so I have to find a way to win. Luckily, my opponent gives me his leg, so I try to break it. But the referee tells me I'm not allowed to do that, so I have to let go. I'm trying my best to avoid my opponent's attacks, but I'm afraid that if I'm too passive, I will get disqualified. So I'm left with no other choice but to go down to the ground. Luckily, I know exactly what to do from here. Just like that, I proved my point. Because
Rumors is you guys were on set. He said something to you. You walked over to him and said, "Yo, if you have anything to say, I'm right here."
Oh no, that didn't happen.
Oh, okay. But something like that happened.
People make up rumors all the time. No, that never happened. One of the things Steven Seagal famously said, "Oh, me and Jean-Claude are not martial artists," which is I think made him look silly.
He said that about you?
Yeah.
Now I see something happen.
No. But he hired me on 2 occasions. So if I'm not a martial artist, why would you hire me?
What the fuck you hired me?
One was for this Nissan suit ad, and I was doing choreography and all that kind of stuff. And the other one was for On Deadly Ground, which is a movie that he was directing. Well, the problem I had when I really flared toward him is that he was hurting the stunt guys. And one of my very good friends, a guy named James Liu, and another friend named Nils Stewart, who were nice people, but he would make it a point to kind of, even off camera, do things like wrench their arms. He actually tore Nils's bicep for no reason.
But how was he afterwards? Was he apologetic or?
The next day he was.
Oh, but right after he wasn't.
Oh, do you remember a guy named Alex Desir? He was Alex Desir was, puppy dogging Seagal, right? And I wasn't doing that because I see what he was doing. He actually asked me to be on Deadly Ground. He says, we're gonna do this fight scenes is gonna be, you and I. I was like, oh, okay. He asked me. I remember I met with him and he wanted to hire me. And we were in the parking lot talking about it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then when I get to set, I find out the parameter of what the movie's about, and it's about these white people in Alaska mistreating the natives. And this fight is going to be at a country western bar. And I said, okay, wait a second. No, you want me to do a martial art fight scene
in a country music bar?
But I'm fighting on the side of racist white people in a country western bar in Alaska. And I said, why don't you throw a yarmulke on me? Because you can, I mean, this is really ridiculous in my, and he's like, yo, I see your point. You know, and I'm like, well, I'll stay along. I'll help out with, you know, the choreography, because we had just done the Nissan Soup ad commercial like weeks earlier, and so he hired me to do this stuff, and I was like, this is just freaking ridiculous. You know, I'm not just a stunt guy, and I'm an actor, so this is stupid. You know, and so I didn't want, so you know, but I was on as, you know, to help. And one time he chopped James Lou in the throat for no freaking reason, and I just snapped. You know, I have a little bit of a temper, but the next day I thought, well, you know, James called me and said, are you coming? Because we were in Warner Brothers lot. And he, again, Steven Seagal is the director. So he says, are you coming today? I was like, no, I'm not fired for like going off. He said, no, he wants everybody to get. And I came there, and I wasn't unarmed because I didn't know what to expect. And but he apologized. He says, you know, things got a little testy yesterday, long hours and all. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, so I stayed on.
Dude, did my fucking stream get blocked or something?
A performance that truly matters.
My stream straight up blocked again. Fuck off, Shin Yun.
And welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Alexander Volkanovski sends a warning to Islam Makhachev.
Shut up,
After
Volk.
sharing the octagon with both Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria, Alexander Volkanovski knows firsthand what it's like competing against those fighters. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. With the news of Topuria making the jump up to 155, Volk thinks that a Makhachev-Topuria fight is the biggest threat to the lightweight champion's reign. During a virtual appearance on the Ariel Helwani show on Wednesday, Volk weighed in on Topuria's move up to 155, sending a warning to Makhachev, saying that if he lands clean, he can knock anyone out, including Islam Makhachev. Ilia is a dangerous fighter, and he can catch anyone. If he lands, he could definitely knock Islam out. But Islam has better chances than others, and Ilia has a better chance than most. Of course, Makhachev also made it pretty clear that he wants to move up and pursue a second title. Just like Ariel had predicted before, Volk thinks that if JDM wins his fight against Bilal Muhammad, then Islam will move up to achieve double champ status.